these people meet in the work context. Like team members with vulnerable narcissism meet leaders with grandiose narcissism, and this combination showed to be especially toxic in a way to undermine work engagement, for example. Another thing is it's about communication, actually. You see here as the dependent variable change of contract breach. It's not the formal contract, but in any social relationship, you build up expectations by just observing the behavior of the other person, but by talking also, by communicating. And what we looked here is really supervisor PhD diets. And we looked at the relationship of communication quality of the leaders with the likelihood to receive breaches, and the question if they are like similar-minded in a way. My doctoral advisor and I are similar in terms of our outlook, perspective, and values. And what was interesting in this study is that you actually have to have both. You need to be like on the same level in terms of how you think about certain topics, but then you also have to have a good communication quality. But both can be probably changed with communication and with asking for like feedback and clearing things in the relationship. And this, as a last one before I sum up, social support is important. Seek for alliance, as Claudia said. This is a study where we could show that social support by co-workers, by peers, actually has even an impact on physiological measures. This is the trajectory of the RMSSD, of the heart rate variability over a workday, and people with more co-worker support, they show they are like more relaxed over the workday than those that have lower co-worker support, to interpret this shortly. So social support is important. And oh yeah, okay, last one, job grafting, just one word. Of course, you can proactively shape your job conditions to a certain extent. You can look for resources, increase your resources you need. You can maybe try to decrease those things that put stress on you. And this is last slide of the animation. Didn't work as I wanted, but don't be distracted. So what to do? So first thing is communication. It's a two-way process. Actually, don't wait for the leader to do this or that. Ask them for feedback. Clarify mutual expectations. Be proactive in shaping the relationship with your supervisor and leader. Ask for social support. Seek and also provide social support to others in your group. Join networks, for example. This one is a very nice example. Look out for mentors early in your career in your field, which can be part of your PhD and beyond. And job drafting, shape your job conditions proactively in the range that you have the freedom to do so. But also report power abuse. If lines are crossed, don't be silent, don't take it in. Talking to ombudspersons, for example, in your institution can be a first step. Talk to other people. It's important to report real power abuse and to take measures. And sixth, there might be situations where simply the relationship is not working. If it's not like legally abusive or anything, but it's toxic for you or maybe both of you, and then it might be the best decision to look for a better place for you in a better relationship. But this, of course, should be probably the last option. So I hope I was more or less in time and not too long. this is a very nice song. Maybe to listen, you can listen to it later on. Gives me a smile on my face. Everyone, I listen to it, and that's it. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Great, thanks very much, Thomas. That was great. I thought it was your study looking at the heart rate variability and actually linking a physiological measure to co-worker relationships. I thought that was really, really cool, a really powerful message. And yeah, coming from the mental health working group, I very much appreciated you talking about mental health and stress related to power abuse, and the idea of self-evaluation, and just made me immediately think about imposter syndrome, which a lot of us experience at whatever level we're at within the system. And yeah, I think that could, like you kind of said, it could feed into this perpetuation of power abuse. And yeah, it was also really nice to see in your last slide, there seemed to be a lot of similarities in terms of what to do with Claudia's suggestions. So yeah, I'm not sure, maybe we could even bring that slide up, because I think, if that's okay with you, because I think a lot of the questions actually relate a lot to the points about really, the questions are really more from the participants, are more about what to do in different circumstances.
Yeah, should I share the last slide?
Yeah, I think
circle?
that would be nice. That's okay.
Okay.
And okay, so we have quite a few questions, and that a few have been voted up quite highly. So I think what I'm just going to do is to just read out the questions basically in order of how popular they were. And so the first one, which I would like to leave open to Thomas or Claudia to answer, maybe they could both provide their answers, but the first one is, how could we as junior scientists or address bad leadership of our supervisors without hurting our relationships with them? I leave that open for both of you to answer.
Thomas, if you don't mind, I'll start, and then you will complement. By the way, I think again our talks in the last two slides totally have a nice connection, although we didn't speak about it before, so that's wonderful. So I think number one, what exactly is the bad leadership you're seeing, right? Is it laissez-faire, do you not know expectations, etc., or is it of a different kind? I hope not abusive supervision, as Thomas was introducing. So what it is, where does it come from? What are the causes? And I think then a lot, and this is very much in line with the slides that we're seeing right now, communication. So yes, it's a sensitive matter, but I think very important to be really well prepared, you know, and I think basically also address what you're seeing, what you're experiencing in line with the feedback rules. So, you know, specific situations, your personal interpretation, you know, to me it seems, or the impact on me is as follows. So don't, you know, use absolute statements. Collect specific situations, and ideally come up with suggestions, you know, to what can the leader do better. Final one, and then Thomas can jump in. I think a lot of the times, in a sense, you can exercise upward leadership by asking questions. You know, you won't come across as aggressive, but if you ask very precise questions, you know, what do you expect me to do in this situation? How could we go about it? What can I improve? What do you expect, etc., etc. I think again, this comes across much more friendly and constructively than if you were to put it in a different way.
Yeah, maybe to add, like, giving feedback is part of leadership training. So how can employees and team members give feedback to leaders? This might also need some preparation and training. And it's I think it's a good idea to talk to others about it, to prepare oneself, and to think about how would I like to receive feedback. when I give feedback. So not confront people with things, not to be really on the personal level and saying you are so and so, but more like we're now working together for 3 months, and in certain situations I felt like lost. So start with your own perception, and then talk about your expectations. And it might be a good idea to like to try this out, maybe with your partner at home or with a peer or anybody, and say, okay, I want to talk with my leader. It's a delicate question. How can I start and really prepare for this? Don't step into the door and say, okay, now I have enough and I want to talk. But this is really a talk which needs preparation.
Great, thanks. And so I'll just jump to the second question, and that is, do you have some ideas about how academic leaders can be motivated to take part in leadership training?
Actually, as this is a question I get all the time, I'm happy to give you my answer to it. I think there's no one size fits all. I think you need to use different strategies. So the strategies we've been using, I think one strategy that works well with people in academia is evidence, scientific evidence. And, you know, as I mentioned before, we've done studies showing that leadership, in this case, transformational leadership, is a significant predictor of publication performance. That's usually something professors care about, right? So that's usually a pretty good hook. You might also make, especially this day and age, I guess since, you know, at least a year we've seen, you know, bad scandals, etc. You can also make the case, if you don't care about it, you know, this is a risky strategy.